realized after the last interview I made that there were still quite a number of questions still needing to be answered, so I figured I'd have but another interview here to try and answer those questions. It won't take too long, I don't think. So let's answer these questions, Don. What skills do you need to build and program the Murgatroid? Well, first I'd like to thank you, Don, for asking these very insightful questions. I'll do the best I can to answer them. As far as the skills that you need for building a Merkatroid, you need to be able to solder, and you're going to need to be able to drill holes. You're going to need to be able to program. In fact, programming is a significant portion of it if you want to do things other than what I've already done. You'll also need to be able to build the base that the Merkatroid's the spinning unit, panel unit sits on from wood or whatever. You'll need some knowledge of electronics and microprocessors, not a huge amount, but you need to know that the things can short and that what a microprocessor GPIO does, input output pin, things like that. Anyway, you'll also need lots of patience and motivation, as things rarely go as you might expect. What equipment do you need to build and test the Merkatroid? So the equipment that you need for building the Merkatroid is soldering iron. You'll need a magnifying lamp. It's very useful to when you're soldering. I've used an oscilloscope to get me out of some trouble. Hopefully you won't need one, but it can be useful at times, not often, but when you need it, you need it. An Android tablet to use the graphical user interface, and you also need a computer to program this beast. Approximately how much does it cost to build a Merkatroid, and where did you purchase the parts? So the cost of the Merkatroid is approximately $700 in that range, and 99% of it can be purchased off of Amazon. Some of the big ticket items are the panels, all 4 panels together about $275. The motor is about $72. The Infinity Cube is about $140. So altogether it adds up, and then of course you'll need an Android tablet or Android phone in order to use the graphical user interface. What software will people need to purchase? So it's actually not necessary to purchase any software for the Merkatroid. The Arduino IDE is free and online, though I did purchase a Microsoft Visual Studio 2017 as a replacement for the IDE, which I really love the Microsoft Visual Studio. For creating custom bitmaps, I used a program called Game Maker. This allowed me to get in there at the pixel level and change things as I chose to make the very small 22 by 22 images. But you could also use Microsoft Paint, which comes standard in all Microsoft computers. Also, once you've created that bitmap, you need to translate it into a format that's understood by the Arduino program. To do that, I wrote a custom program in a language called Dark Basic Professional, and this is free online, made by the game creators, and I use this program mostly because I'm very familiar with it and I knew how to get the job done using it. I think the same job could be done using a C program, but I didn't have the skills or knowledge to do that at the time, so I went the easy route. But basically what this does is takes the information in the bitmap and translates it into a format that the Merkatroid will understand in terms of lighting the different LEDs. So, and then finally I used a program called Bluetooth Electronics from the Google Play Store, which is used in creating a graphical user interface on the Android tablet that I have. So those are the programs, and as I say, you really don't need to purchase anything in order to get the programming done on the Merkatroid, but some programs will make it easier. What is Arduino? So Arduino is a hardware and software platform that's been designed for hobbyists and engineers Arduino supports many different hardware platforms, which I mean by different microprocessor platforms, I should say. I'm using the ESP32 microprocessor, and all supported platforms operate within the same software umbrella and for the most part share the same C++ library commands. So in theory, I could write an Arduino program on one type of microprocessor and it would port over to a different microprocessor and the program should still work. The ability to tap into different software libraries that support different hardware functions is key. For example, I use the Bluetooth serial library in the Arduino libraries to run the Bluetooth on my ESP32 development board, and I use the Fast LED library to run my LED displays, or to program them, I should say. In any case, you write an Arduino program on your computer and then you run it by uploading it to the microprocessor. And then debugging is a combination of hardware function debugging as well as software output from a serial monitor which you can connect to your computer. Who do you ask if you run into trouble? So you basically have lots of help on the internet for people who can help you if you run into problems. I think one of the most helpful sources is GitHub, which has support for the Fast LED library and other Arduino libraries. And so you should check out their forums and ask questions on their forums and become a member. And then there's a guy who runs a Random Nerd Tutorials is the name of the this outfit that makes tutorials. Many of them are free, most of them are free, that show you how to write Arduino programs to do various types of functions. And so that's been extremely useful. Once again, that's called Random Nerd Tutorials. So just do a search on the internet and you'll find that. What is a spinning panel unit, and what is the status of the Merkatroid at this moment? A spinning panel unit is basically what this is. This is the main spinning panels for the Merkatroid and the control box and the power connector to it. And I basically completed at this point in May 11th of 2021 building a second one of these units. And got a rotary slip ring on order, as you'll hear more about if you listen further into these series. But I've also got a good bit of development work I want to do. I'll have a new SD card that I put into the Merkatroid spinning panel units. I want to try programming that. I have some programming that I want to try in the GUI using joysticks or virtual joysticks. I've got some new visuals in mind to experiment with, and I also want to look at variations of the infinity cube, perhaps a pentagonal shape. Also, I want to examine feeding audio into the Merkatroid and doing a fast Fourier transform, or DFT, to extract the harmonic information and see if we can generate some interesting shows based on that. Finally, why have you created this YouTube channel? Okay, so I have no interest in fame or money as it comes to this YouTube channel. Basically just doing this to encourage others to make a Merkatroid. I felt a series of videos would be the best way to present the information needed for others and perhaps to inspire them to some other soul to build a Merkatroid of their own. I've gotten a lot from the YouTube community in terms of help, and I felt it was a chance for me to give back some. Even if someone decides not to build a Merkatroid, then perhaps they might be inspired to make a creation of their own. So I think that answers all your very excellent and insightful questions. Appreciate your asking them, and I hope everybody got some good information from this interview. Thanks for watching.